One of the biggest problems that many students have is that they get stuck at a 6 or 6.5 or sometimes even lower than a 6. And the reason basically is because they are not familiar with the band descriptors. Now, in order to get a higher grade, you should become an expert in the band descriptors. Unfortunately, they are a little bit difficult to understand because they are quite cryptic and vague in my personal opinion, but let's take a quick look at it and see if we can make some sense of it. Let's get started. The focus of today is the academic exam writing task number 1, and we're going to skip band score number 9 because, well, that sounds a little bit too ambitious and they don't give you a lot of information either, so it doesn't really help us a lot. It becomes interesting with the band descriptor for band 8 and 7. Let's take a quick look at the document that you can find on the internet. It's the official band descriptors of the IELTS organization. And here they tell us that for a band 8, we have to respond, or our response has to cover all the requirements of the task appropriately, relevantly, and sufficiently. The problem here, of course, is that they do not exactly say what the requirements are, what appropriately means, and how to define relevantly and sufficiently. So this is basically the vague part of the band descriptors. It continues by talking about the key features, and you have to mention them and select them skillfully and present them clearly highlighted and illustrated. Now here again, of course, they don't tell us what the key features are. So our biggest problem basically is that we don't know really what the definitions are of the vocabulary that they use here in the band descriptors. It becomes a little bit clearer when they describe band 7. But again, we continue with this problem about the definitions, right? But let's take a look at it. For band number 7, the response covers the requirements of the task. The content is relevant and accurate. There may be a few omissions or lapses. The format is appropriate. And key features which are selected and covered and clearly highlighted, but could be more fully or appropriately illustrated or extended. And of course, you present a clear overview. The data are appropriately categorized and the main trends or differences are identified. So again, our biggest problem is basically, how do you want to define all the vocabulary that they are using here, right? What is relevant? What does it mean, the key features? And what does it mean to be relevant appropriately and all the other words that they are using here? So I'm trying to translate this into let's say a simpler language that we are going to take a look at right now. As you can see, I highlighted a few words, vocabulary that are important for us here. All the requirements of the task, key features, relevant, accurate, format, clear overview, main trends, and differences. So these are basically the words we are going to work with in order to come up with our response to the task 1 prompt. And ironically enough, when you read the task 1 prompt, they basically already tell you what to do, right? Summarize information by selecting and reporting the main features. This is definitely a very important word for us, the main features. And don't forget, make comparisons where relevant, and you have to write at least 150 words. So basically, we're going to write about the main features and make comparisons where relevant, at least 150 words in your response. Okay, that covers the part about the requirements of the task. And then, of course, we have to know what the main features are. we're going to say something about what type of graph we are describing, what does it show, where is it measured, over what period is it measured, how is it measured, what can we say about the general trend, what can we say about the movements within the trend or the points of change, and also we have to know what the non-relevant features are, because these are the features we are not going to mention. And then lastly, but not least, you also have to come up with a comparison when relevant, of course. So in order to make it practical, here we have a line graph that shows the average birth rate in 4 European countries from 1970 to 2020. And one of the key features that you want to mention, of course, is one, what kind of a graph is it? Now, as you can see, this is a line graph. And also they want to know what the line graph shows. Now, in this case, it would be the average birth rate in 4 European countries. And we also have to mention when this information was valid, and that was between 1970 and 2020. And then how was it measured? Well, it's basically the average birth rate. And then we have to say something about the general trend, because this is also a key feature. And if you can see, the lines for France and Italy begin around 1.5, 1.6, and they end up somewhere around the 2.2, 2.4 or something like that. So this is definitely an upward trend, and the other two show a downward trend. So here you have already the main features that you want to mention in your response. Of course, we have an upward trend and we have a downward trend. Now, after that, you can dive into the details and discuss the movements within the trend and the points of change, which you are basically going to mention in your 2 remaining body paragraphs. So in this video, we basically have seen the task achievement and the band descriptor for the task achievement for the academic writing task number 1. And we analyzed the vocabulary basically that they use in these descriptors. Like I said in the beginning, it's quite cryptic, a little bit vague, and I guess this is one of the reasons that many students basically avoid studying these band descriptors. But again, it is crucial, really crucial, to familiarize yourself with it, because it at least will help you increasing your grade with at least half a point, and that can sometimes be enough, right, to get the grade that you need. Now, just to summarize basically the things that we have seen is that we have to cover all the task requirements, which is basically to summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make some comparisons when relevant. And you have to write at least 150 words. So these are the requirements of the task. And then there are also some words that we have to pay attention to, key features, especially that word. And of course, we need to know what the key features are now. And that was basically what kind of a graph is it, what does it measure, how is it measured, where is it measured, when is it measured. You want to say something about the general trend, and in the remainder 2 body paragraphs, you're going to mention something about the movements within the trends, and also you're going to mention the points of change. Now, in the next video, I will highlight what I mean with the movements within the trend and the points of change. Another important aspect, of course, here is that we should not mention any non-relevant features. And in the next video, we will also see what non-relevant features are. And do not forget to make some comparisons when relevant. See you in the next video.